courage, compassion, faith, freedom, truth. It's time for Courage in the Darkness with the host, Philip Roberts. Awakening America to the indoctrination and radicalization. Let's get into it.
We are right in the middle of a 2-week window where the media forces a national conversation about who we are, where we came from, and what freedom actually means. On one hand, you have Juneteenth. On the other, you have the 4th of July. If you listen to the academic elite and the talking heads on television, they will tell you that these 2 days are in direct conflict. They want you to believe that the 4th of July is an outdated, compromised holiday celebrating an incomplete, hypocritical independence, while Juneteenth is the true Independence Day, born out of the ashes of America's original sin. This is a false dichotomy designed to do one thing: divide us. They want to turn our national calendar into a cultural battlefield. They want to weaponize history to make you feel like you have to choose between celebrating the founding of the Republic and celebrating the end of slavery. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Juneteenth does not compete with the 4th of July. Juneteenth is the ultimate fulfillment of the 4th of July. It is the moment the promises made in 1776 finally caught up with reality on the ground in 1865. Let's look at the 4th of July. When Thomas Jefferson sat down and wrote that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights, the radical left likes to point out that he owned slaves. They use that fact to dismiss the entire American project as a fraud. But they completely misunderstand, or they deliberately ignore, the power of ideas. The Declaration of Independence was not a description of America as it existed in 1776. It was a promissory note. It was a theological and legal stake driven into the ground that established a standard of liberty the world had never seen. The founders built a framework based on eternal truths, knowing that the culture they lived in had not yet risen to meet that standard. They gave us the tools to correct our own trajectory. When we celebrate the 4th of July, we're celebrating the birth of the constitutional machinery that made the abolition of slavery possible. Without 1776, there is no 1865. Without the foundational principles of American liberty, there is no legal or moral ground to stand on to demand the end of tyranny. The 4th of July belongs to every single American because it is the bedrock upon which all our freedom is built. Now look at June 19th, 1865. Major General Gordon Granger marches into Galveston and reads General Order Number 3, announcing to the last remaining slaves in the state that they're free. The cultural architects want to use Juneteenth to push a narrative of permanent grievance. They want to focus entirely on the delay, on the fact that it took 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation for that truth to reach Texas. They use it to lecture parents, rewrite school curriculums, and demand corporate penance. But the real story of Juneteenth is a story of American triumph over evil. It's the story of a nation that fought a bloody, devastating civil war to make good on the promise of the founding. When those federal soldiers stood in Galveston and read that order, they weren't tearing down the American story. They were finishing a chapter. They were enforcing the Constitution. I'm tired of watching the left hijack historical milestones to sow division. Juneteenth shouldn't be used as a political wedge to displace our national identity. It should be celebrated exactly for what it is, a moment of profound deliverance that proved our founding principles were strong enough to conquer our deepest failures. We don't have two competing Independence Days. We have one continuous narrative of human liberty, bought with blood and preserved by the grace of God. July 4th laid the foundation, and Juneteenth proved that foundation holds. Don't let them steal your history. Don't let them replace patriotism with permanent resentment. Celebrate the birth of the Republic. Celebrate the total eradication of slavery. And remember that both days belong to the story of a free people who refuse to let the darkness win. Stand with me, support the mission, refuse the silence, and I'll see you next time.